Welcome to the FanDuel Punch Out. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. 12-game slate tonight, and with really about 6-7 top options on the hill. I mean, it kind of takes a lot of teams out of play. Definitely going to be a night to really dig down for value.
Yeah, you're gonna be funky chicken dancing around these hitters in some of these games. But I mean, again, this is a night to be very contrarian in tournaments. Maybe take a chance on, if you don't like one of the top arms, maybe take a chance on taking a few low price guys against them.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think there are some spots to definitely do that. So, jumping into the Padres Nationals here first.
Not here. Not here.
The Padres are – what, you don't think Matt Kemp's going to homer again?
Well, you know what? Hey, I got nothing to say against Matt Kemp. 22 homers now this year, something like that.
He's up there.
Man, unbelievable. So, I mean, can't knock that, 2,800, but I think we talked about it on the pitcher pod. Scherzer's not, you just pass by hitters on that type of day.
Yeah, definitely. And looking more so at the national side, of course, we're projected for 5 runs. You got like some of the value up front with the Jason Worth and Ben Revere. I don't mind a Trey Turner or Danny Espinosa at this back end. I do think tonight's a night where I'm going to maybe lean a little deeper in some of the lineups, given the right price tags, and especially teams that are projected for over 5. So I don't mind both sides of the plate here. Against Edwin Jackson, I think both are fairly playable. And more so, I'm looking at the cheap guys. We obviously know Harper and Murphy are in play.
Right. Yeah. Murphy more so than Harper on this slate, just because that 500 difference is actually a really, really big difference today. So, but yeah, in terms of the lower end option, you like Ramos again, and Revere's all right. Obviously coming off an 0 for 5 yesterday, which is rough, but yeah, I think even the secondary options are live in this Nationals lineup.
Yeah, definitely. So I think Nationals, I mean, they carry kind of what you want as far as top price guys and low price guys. They kind of give you a little bit of everything tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Indians and Orioles, Kevin Gausman versus Josh Tomlin. And I like the Orioles bats here. For me, that Mark Trumbo price tag is something that I like quite a bit. You look at Tomlin going back to last year, 335 WOBA to right-handers, a 1.93 home runs per 9. The long ball has been the biggest thing, and obviously I like a lot of the right-handers, and obviously you're going to like Chris Davis as well.
Yeah, and we've seen Trumbo hit homers in bunches this year, so even though he hit one yesterday, it's not like he doesn't have some really good power. So another good matchup today. I'd say it's pretty reasonable odds he goes back-to-back days here with a homer. Beyond that, I mean, I'm okay with Chris Davis again. You got to like his splits versus righties. Obviously, Tomlin isn't a weak arm, but righty versus Davis, I mean, 3,500, that's pretty reasonable if you're looking for some pay-down options with some upside.
Yeah, definitely agree. And Jonathan Scope at that 3K price tag, I don't mind. A solid mid-range second baseman. Obviously, Adam Jones at 3.5 is intriguing at that price tag. So the only one that's a bit overpriced, but obviously you got to like Machado, and the matchup is 4K. So if you are doing something else at pitcher, obviously Machado is kind of that top option, but we are focusing a little bit more here on those mid-tier to low-tier price guys.
Again, it's great to talk up the high-priced guys, but on a slate like today, realistically, I mean, it's just going to be tough to fit these guys in.
Yeah, I think so too. And looking at the Indian side, I mean, I'm not on Gausman, but I'm not quite using Indians against them at their prices. And Gausman's been fairly tough on left-handers going back to last year, allowing just a 278 WOBA. So I'm not really in on paying up for Kipnis or Lindor, maybe I might take a chance on Santana or Ramirez, just because those are more – they're better options just given the price tags.
What do you think about Mike Napoli at 29?
That's intriguing. See, I would definitely go more so on the right side, just because Gausman struggled more so against right-handers than he has against lefties. So I don't mind Napoli at that price tag in GPPs.
I think that's a reasonable tournament play. He's got some upside, obviously had quite a bit of power this year. So Gausman, he's almost a reverse splits guy in terms of what he's weaker against. So I do like Napoli there for his price in tournaments.
Yeah, definitely. Angels Astros here next, and for me, I mean, looking at these Angels bats, I mean, they're not quite cheap enough for me to really consider against McHugh. I'd rather go with some other options. I mean, anyone you like from the Angels side. I mean, obviously Mike Trout's kind of a guy who usually we talk about, but everyone should be talking about him. So I'm not playing really anyone from the Angels here.
Well, depending on what happens with the end of that lineup, there's going to be a lot of guys in that 2.5K and below range. So I might end up diving down there by the end of the day. But I think we have to wait for lineup lock to see that, because whoever's betting fifth there is going to be really cheap, and I'm guessing is going to pop up in the optimizer. So that's something to look at there. But other than that, I'm not really looking at any of the main options.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Jeff Bandy, I mean, everyone's 2,400 and below, so there is some cheap options down that back end there, and in good ballpark. I mean, McHugh's obviously not the strongest right-hander, but not a guy who, I mean, you're just really looking to exploit.
No, not at all.
As far as Houston goes, I mean, obviously, the trio of Correa, Altuve, Springer are in play, but a little too pricey for me. But I like taking some shots with some of those back end guys like Valbuena, Rasmus, Gomez at their price tag. So I think, given the slate considered with the pitching, the 5, 6, 7 guys, I'll take some chances on it and hope that power, because Weaver, I mean, home run upside for opposing batters, it's definitely increased with him.
This is definitely a Valbuena and Rasmus night. I don't know why I say that, but against weaker arms, it seems like the end of that lineup has pretty solid success. So lefties versus Weaver, pretty solid matchup there, and they're relatively cheap. So I like that call.
Yeah, and Weaver doesn't really miss bats either. I mean, 13% strikeout rate against lefties, 340 wobo out. And we talked about home runs. I mean, 1.54 home runs per 9. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, same thing from the right side. It's exactly similar numbers. So it doesn't really matter what side of the plate for me for this Astros team. You got to like them here.
Mm-hmm.
Tigers and White Sox, and Matt Boyd versus Chris Sale. And here's where I might get a little weird and take a shot with an Ian Kinsler at 3-3. He's obviously GPP. He's not a cashing guy, but he's hammered left-handed pitching this season. And this is because I don't see myself using Sale tonight. I think I might get contrarian with some of these Tigers bats. Good ballpark. Obviously, you're not really expecting a ton of production, but Sale is beatable. I mean, any pitcher is beatable.
Now you say that. Is that in a one-off sense or in a potentially mini stack with someone else sense?
Kinsler is probably my only one-off that I might use more than once. But I might throw a Tiger stack in there with a Scherzer and try and pull that off, because I think it really is doable at their prices, because they are very cheap because they're playing Chris Sale.
That'd be really unique. And I mean, I think that's kind of the things you want to do to take down a tournament tonight. Just get kind of weird with some of these top arms, because we see it all the time when there's an Arrieta and Bumgarner or Scherzer and Fernandez. Usually, like, one of them does really well, and then the other kind of, does all right, gives up a few runs, maybe a homer or two. And I mean, that's just the way slates go. So if you want to get weird with some of these aces, it's not smart for cash, but for tournaments, I think you can definitely do something like this with Sale.
Yeah, and I just think, given that we come from the pitcher pod, we weren't really on Sale, not because of him just personally, just because of the matchup and the guys around him. So given that, I mean, it's not like you're going against the grain, your own grain, where you do have Sale, and in one of the lineups is you're going against him. So I think just because I'm completely fading Sale tonight, I feel comfortable targeting Tigers and GPPs.
Yeah, nice leverage play for sure.
Yeah. So as far as the White Sox bats go, I mean, they are facing Matt Boyd. They are projected for nearly 5 runs. Boyd coming off a strong start, but overall, I mean, going back to last year, 360 WOBA, but the right-handers, 1.92 home runs per 9 in a friendly ballpark there.
Listen, White Sox, I'll do
tonight, give me something.
I'll do Tim Anderson. That's it. Tim Anderson. That's it.
I like Melky Cabrera. 3K is a really nice price tag for him.
I like Melky Cabrera. I'm only doing one White Sox. That's it.
Abreu's priced around some other guys for me. I mean, 3-4, I'm not the biggest fan. I like him a little bit more on DK, where he's 3-1, where he's super cheap, and you're probably going to need to, just because you're paying up at pitching. So here it's a little bit more I can just kind of pass.
No, I do like Todd Frazier, even though he is more expensive. It might be tough to fit him in tonight, but I think that is a pretty reasonable stacking top five tonight, even though, but they are pretty reasonable, especially Cabrera and Tim Anderson.
Yeah, definitely agree. Twins and Red Sox here. David Price versus Ricky Nolasco. And here's another ace where I think if you're not on him, personally, I'm going to be on Price. I mean, it's not just because of the thing in the back. I like the matchup and the strikeout upside for Price.
Right.
But, I do think you can look at a Dozier or a Sano at those respective price tags and maybe hope that he gets to price it. And maybe here's the thing. I mean, maybe you do get just a solo shot because Price rarely comes unscathed. He might have 10 strikeouts, but he also might give up 3 earned runs with a homer or 2. So
yeah, and I like that. Even Nunez, Sano, Dozier. I think you can pick your spots with those 3. And hope for a solo shot or maybe 2 or 3 hits or something. I think that's pretty reasonable. I'd probably go Sano out of those 3, but I think they're all in play as sort of contrarian guys.
Yeah, definitely think so too. And on the Red Sox side, I mean, there's really no value here, but they're obviously a top stack, a top team to target and deploy when you are going to pay up. Just going up against Nolasco, who struggles from both sides of the plate. So overall, I mean, I think you really got to like this team, and I do like the Hanley price tag at 2,800. Nolasco's been a little worse against right-handed pitching going back to last year, so that is a nice drop down. It seems like a more economical choice at first base in comparison to Ortiz.
Let's weigh the odds for a second. Is this contrarian to go Red Sox stack tonight over Scherzer and Fernandez? I feel like it kind of might be.
As a complete stack, I definitely think so. I think they're each going to still hold their individual value as far as ownership, just because it's still sucks. You want to get at least one piece of it. But yeah, I do think stacking these teams is going to be somewhat contrarian because you are going to be kind of forced to pay down at pitcher. I mean, that's going to be the big contrarian move tonight.
Right. So I as a whole, I don't think the ownership will be totally down, but it might be suppressed a little bit, and that might be a really unique lineup with the whole Red Sox stack. So something to think about.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on to the Diamondbacks and Reds here, and I love the Diamondbacks bats tonight against Sampson. They're definitely a stack-worthy team for me, and I think you got to like these price tags. I mean, it's kind of a nice gift here. I mean, outside of Goldschmidt, everyone's really cheap here, and Sampson, I mean, he struggled against both sides of the plate, big hitters park. I'm going to be loading up on Diamondbacks and cash games. I mean, and GPPs. They're going to be a really nice core for me here.
I mean, Jake Lamb at 31. I saw a tweet a few minutes ago. Highest price third baseman on DK, and he's only 31 here. So, I mean, you got to love that, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a nice gift. I mean, you're getting a lot of upside. I mean, he pretty much checks off all the boxes going across the board there. Weak pitcher, great hitters park, great lineup spot, whatever you want. And then now you get him at a good value price.
That's the cash game move at third, I think, for pretty much every lineup. So I think that's the move. You like Segura, you like Bourne, you like Castillo. I think you can do a 3-person stack in that lineup and feel really comfortable. Goldschmidt, tougher to fit him in tonight, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, if you're paying down, obviously an elite guy to play.
Yeah, right.
So, as far as the Reds go, I mean, I'm not completely on them at their prices. I do like an Adam Duvall, as you've kind of stated already so far during the morning. Good option for him. But overall, I mean, I'm not completely jumping all over the Reds. Bats, I'm kind of just leaning more towards the Diamondback side here in this game.
Yeah, that's a gray area matchup for me where I'm not too in on Ray or Votto Bruce, really. So maybe a Cozart, but he's expensive too. So it's kind of like, not really worth it for me.
At their price tags, you kind of wish they were a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, exactly.
Cubs Brewers here, and Dexter Fowler returned last night in big fashion with the homer. Gotta like his price tag here. I mean, he was hitting really well before going down with the injury. Leading off, I mean, back for this team again, that's a good spot for him to produce. And I'm going to jump on this Fowler price tag before it really gets higher because I know it will happen.
Yeah, I like him, and I do like Zobrist quite a bit. They switched up his place in the order, obviously with Fowler back. So he's batting 4th potentially tonight. If he is, I like that. 36, a little expensive, but kind of in that range where it is a pay up, but it's not killing you either. So I do like that quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even this back end's in play for me. I don't mind a Javier Baez or a Russell. Hayward's still a guy who I'm just kind of off in general now. And also Wilson Contreras at 32. So I think this is one of those teams where I don't mind diving down to those back end guys, just given how deep they are and how quickly they get through that lineup.
Right.
So. As far as the Brewers side goes, I'm not really liking their prices against Lackey. I know there is some home run upside for some of those guys, but it's usually just the big three of Villar, Braun, Lucroy, maybe a Gannett, but it's deep GPP at most.
That's a deep GPP move. I mean, it'll be low owned.
It'll be very low owned.
That's all I got on that one, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not looking to really pick up Lackey here. I mean, obviously, Lackey's not, it's not like he's Scherzer out there, but
no.
On a 12-gamer with the pitching, I don't feel the need to spend my 32 on a Lucroy or 35 on a Braun. I think you got to be a little bit more, a little bit more economical, a little bit more focused.
Mm-hmm.
Mets and Marlins, and I think I'll just ask you this question because I have my answer ready. Are you taking anyone as far as hitters in this game?
No.
I mean,
no. All right. Well, you have to look at Stanton at 3-3, but ultimately, no, probably not.
I mean, the thing is, someone has to score. I mean,
it's not going to be, and that's the thing when you look at sort of going contrarian against, a Price or a Sale. It's like, yeah, they're good, but they're not going to no hit these teams. You know what I mean? Unless it's a super rare occurrence. So there are going to be some hits in this game, regardless of how well they're pitching. So I mean, of the guys, I think a few of these power bats could get to DeGrom in sort of a range of outcomes type of way. But if you're looking at the way things most likely will go, chances are there's not going to be too much action.
I don't think so either. And I think I'm not necessarily going to be looking this way, but I think if you wanted to bank on maybe the Marlins scoring 3 runs, it's going to come from 3, 4, 5. And they're at reasonable prices to take shots on. They're not going to be a priority for me. They're not going to be even a low-end priority for me of working them into a lineup. Stanton at 3-3, I mean, maybe you take a GPP shot at. I still think he's struggled a little bit since the break, so it's kind of tough to really deploy.
Right, exactly.
So, but yeah, overall game, not really appealing.
No.
Dodgers and Cardinals here. Kenta Maeda, Mike Leake, and this is kind of an unintriguing black game for me. Corey Seager 3-4 is about who I'm liking the most here out of the two teams. I can't really see myself using Cardinals against Maeda at their prices. Justin Turner 3-4 is in play, but obviously I think Lamb's still a move.
Yeah, if these guys were a few hundred cheaper each or something like that, I might be a little more intrigued. But at these prices, it's just kind of like a gray area for me. I'm okay with Seager. But again, I'm not necessarily targeting Leak right now, even though his numbers are a little inflated from those last 2 starts. But it's just not something I see as necessarily the high upside you're looking for if you are paying down,
Yeah, no, I'm definitely in agreement that if these guys were cheaper, it would be a little bit more intriguing to kind of take chances on. But because they're not, I don't see myself doing that much.
Right.
Rangers Royals next here, and the Royals are very cheap going up against Hamels. I'm not necessarily on it, but I mean they are projected for over 4 runs, and I do think in this game someone does have to score. I really can't see where it's going to come from with this Royals team. I think that's just my toughest thing here with this team that is kind of deep. I mean, some nights it is the top of the order, some nights it's completely just solely the bottom half, and I'm not really jumping. I think the slate's big enough for me to kind of avoid.
I mean, a Whit Merrifield down there, if he's batting 7th or 8th, I don't mind that at 25 as sort of a random shot. But again, it is that, a random shot. It's not something you can really count on in a cash game or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And on the Rangers side, I mean, a Profar leading off at 2,500, I don't hate that for value. I don't hate these bats as far as value goes. I think I'm just more so playing him in GPPs. Profar might be cash game eligible just because he is super cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that call. And Odor, I'm okay with that, batting third. But other than that, I'm going pretty light on the Rangers tonight.
Yeah. Heading into cores here, Tyler Anderson versus Matt Whistler. And I think this is going to be one of those things where I'm completely fading Braves, of course. I just think their prices are way too high. If it was like, one of those things where Adonis Garcia was 2,900 or Gordon Beckham was 3-1, you'd maybe take a little bit of a look here. Frank Core's price tag at 3-3 is certainly intriguing. I don't mind that for some upside.
Yeah, it's just kind of they're priced up accordingly to the point where I just don't want to deal with it. Even though they are in cores, I just don't know that there's enough upside. It doesn't even really have that much to do with Anderson, I don't think, because we've been kind of dealing with this the last few games. It's just like, is there enough upside in this offense to do a mini stack or sort of, even really go at this lineup? So there just isn't much upside over there.
No, I don't think so either. And I think the upside is going to come from this Colorado team that they're expensive. But we're talking about the big four here of Blackman, Carlos Gonzalez, and Arenado and Story. I mean, your usual typical four that you're looking at. But on a slate like tonight with some pitching, I don't mind taking some shots with the back end guys there and kind of hoping something hits with, a Hundley or Desclaso or a Reynolds. I don't mind that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at. You can make that 4-person, but realistically, if you are paying up, Descalso against Whistler, something to look at there at 31.
Yeah, it's definitely something to kind of consider. And as we mentioned with the Sox, it is going to be kind of contrarian to stack tonight.
Right.
Rays and Oakland, and I don't like the Rays prices at all. I mean, for me, I'm just kind of glossing over and kind of skipping past the Rays tonight. I'm just not a big fan. I'd rather go so many other options instead.
I like Brad Miller at 35. He does well against righties, but yeah, other than that, not much.
I think you're really looking at some of these A's prices against the lefty Smiley. I mean,
okay.
You look at Smiley. I mean, 340 WOBA to right-handers, 1.87 home runs per nine going back to last year. You gotta
Semien at 29 is just screaming to me now.
You gotta love Semien here. You gotta like Valencia at 3-1. I don't even mind Chris Davis, Billy Butler, Smolinski. I really think they're all certainly in play. Smolinski, a great value outfielder. He's hit lefties very well. I like this A's team for value. I think they're going to be another kind of core play here on FD where I work them in. But obviously, I think if you're choosing third baseman, it's Lamb over Valencia. I think Valencia is just the pivot.
Yeah, in a tournament, I don't think you want to obviously do a full game stack here, but I think you should definitely pick your spots. I mean, pretty much regardless of the matchup or the format, you're looking at Semien and Valencia in pretty much all lineups for me.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Semien, great value. I think he's going to be a guy I consistently plug in.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's going to wrap things up here with the FanDuel Punch Out. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all our great tools and content.